The west of Asturias is a land of endless mountains and valleys, a craggy coast with turquoise water, isolated villages where life has changed little over the centuries, and this place. This is Castro de Coaña, another Iron Age fortified town that was founded roughly 2,500 years ago by the ancient Albiones tribe, the westernmost people of the Astur nation. It was these same Astur people who gave name to the modern province of Asturias, which we are now exploring. What has drawn me to this unique place is that in a sense it's a fossil of human life from the Iberian Iron Age, and it amazes me that these stone formations have somehow survived the consecutive eras of history up until the present day. Even just the location it was built, the shape of their houses and the urban layout, and the Acropolis at the top of the hill can reveal so much about the way of life of these ancient people. So I just entered the forest just outside the outer perimeter wall of the Castro, and immediately it's an amazing experience for the senses. I can smell mint, I can smell mushrooms, I can smell wet earth. Also, you can just see how much the ancient people of the city would have had to forage. There's chestnuts everywhere, there's hazelnuts just down there, there's wild cherries growing up this hillside. And also just the feeling of calm that you get walking into the forest. Feels like it's a different realm, as if it's ruled by different laws. And it explains to me the importance of fairy tale creatures and forest spirits in ancient Asturian mythology and also ancient Celtic religion. The Iron Age geography of Iberia was a patchwork of tribal nations, and something really remarkable is that the modern provincial borders of northern Spain are very similar to the ancient Iron Age borders, and after more than 2,000 years of history, the names are virtually unchanged as well. Within these Iron Age nations were various tribes, and within those tribes were many local clans. What bound these tribes into confederations or nations was a similarity of culture and language, which was the result of shared Celtic origins. Although this didn't stop neighboring tribes who shared a nationality from going to war or raiding each other's wealth. An evident reminder of this is the fact that these beautiful roundhouses are packed very close together, as I can only imagine that real estate within the safety of fortified walls was in high demand. An example of these cultural divisions can be found between the Celtic Cantabrians and their non-Celtic Basque neighbors, where Celtic languages and culture didn't seem to penetrate. So this area was home to the powerful Albiones tribes, a Celtic people who built fortified cities just like this one in order to defend and dominate this land. And when you actually look at this place from above, it's an incredibly strategic location. It's at the top of a hill with steep slopes on all sides. They then built a perimeter wall to defend the slopes so that if anyone was to invade, it would have been a really daunting task. And there's also incredible fertile farmlands on all sides. Forest, plentiful forest for harvesting resources, and a river just down below where they could have fished and washed their clothing. The Albiones had their base of power centered along the Navia River. This is because they were a mining and smithing people, and the mines they maintained fueled their booming Iron Age economy. It was stories of this mineral wealth which first tempted Rome to conquer the region. The various tribes of the north were often at war with each other, but when the Roman legions arrived at their doorstep in 29 BC, the northern tribes united together in a way never seen before in history. The Astures and Cantabri were the last unconquered peoples in the Iberian Peninsula, and when the Romans invaded their land, it had been a full 200 years since the invasion of Iberia began. This hesitancy to invade the last free peoples was for good reason. The ferocity of Astur and Cantabria warriors was renowned throughout the Roman world, and the land they held was the most mountainous and vertical terrain in all of Iberia. This made large-scale open warfare, which the Romans excelled at, extremely difficult, but it favored guerrilla warfare, which the northern tribes excelled at. The Romans committed 80,000 men to the invasion, and soon enough they were embroiled in countless military disasters. In order to enter Asturias from the south, the marching Roman columns were forced to take narrow roads carved from the cliff faces of the deep gorges of the land. The native clansmen utilized an age-old tactic of rolling armies of boulders down the mountains to crush the soldiers below. They ambushed the Roman columns, emerging from the deep woodlands to decimate an entire cohort before disappearing just as fast. The natives understood their landscape and used it to their advantage. Reports of unprecedented losses were reaching the Roman garrisons, and desertion was at an all-time high. Roman survivors returning to the plains of Tarraconensis brought stories of invincible men who dressed and fought like beasts, and deep forests which came to life and engulfed entire legions. Things were so bad that the Roman emperor himself, Caesar Augustus, journeyed from Rome to take command and inspire the troops. It was the only campaign which he did so during his reign. It took Rome over 10 years to pacify the region, and this was only won through tactics of unfathomable brutality, like massacring entire towns and tribes, cutting off the hands of all males to prevent them from raising arms against Rome, and shipping off the population of the region to Rome as slaves. The end result was a tragic depopulation of the region, although many found refuge deep in the mountains beyond the reach of Rome. For over 43,000 years, humans have found refuge in the great Cordillera Cantábrica of northern Spain, be it from invading armies, disease, and even Nazi Luftwaffe bombers. The insulation and isolation of these remote valleys have cradled the most ancient peoples and their practices into modern history, where these elements had long disappeared elsewhere. This is why I love this region. The mountains create a great amount of diversity in a small area, and they hide endless mysteries to discover.